Chapter 1. The weight of it? The first thing was the heat. Not the heat of fire, the wreckage had mostly stopped burning, or burned itself out while I was unconscious, I could not tell which. This was older heat. Ambient. The kind that had been baking into the rock for centuries and saw no reason to stop now. It pressed against my skin from every direction at once, including from below, and for a long bewildered moment, I could not determine where the ground ended and the air began. I opened my eyes. Sand. White gold sand, fine as powder, stretching in every direction to a horizon that shimmered and lied. The sky above it was a pale, washed-out blue, too pale, wrong pale, the blue of something diluted, and the sun, if it was a sun, sat fat and low and close in a way that felt personal. Like an accusation. I lay still and took inventory of myself, beginning with the parts that reported the loudest. 2 ribs, maybe 3. A gash along my left forearm, dried now, that I did not remember receiving. My head felt packed with something dense and slow. And when I reached for recent memory, I found it piecemeal, the jump, the corridor collapsing, the drive screaming, Arvin's voice. But the sequence refused to assemble cleanly. There were gaps. I did not trust the gaps. I stood in the heat and said nothing, because there was nothing to say and no one alive to hear it. Then I got up. It cost considerably more than I wanted to pay, but I paid it without ceremony. The wreckage was worse than I had let myself imagine in the first blurred seconds of consciousness. The cruiser had split somewhere above the desert end, come down in 2 pieces, the larger half tilted on its side, the smaller buried nose first in a dune 50 meters away. The hull had torn open along the spine, exposing the interior in cross-section. The corridor I had walked 100 times, the galley, the bunk room where men I had employed and not particularly thought about had slept. Some of them were still there. I made myself look. I owed them that much, even if I had not known most of their names. Technician Sorrel, who had fixed the climate controls twice on this trip without being asked. The 2 navigation officers whose faces I recognized but whose names I was only now realizing I did not know. A guard who had stood outside my quarters every night for 6 months, whose name was on a roster I had never read. 3 others half buried by sand and debris, faces turned away, which was a mercy I did not deserve but accepted, and I could hear someone else still breathing somewhere in the wreckage. He was perhaps 10 meters away, propped against a section of hull plating that had half buried itself in the sand at an angle, providing a narrow strip of shade. He had dragged himself there or been thrown there, I could not tell. His breathing was audible from where I stood, which told me enough. Too loud. Too harsh. The wrong rhythm? I crossed the sand to him,